So this happened. $14 billion years later, there's some weird rando crazy ape trying to figure out how the heck that happened. Let's talk about it coming right up here on Drew's Book Reviews. Alright, good day and welcome to another episode of Drew's Book Reviews. This is going to be a non-fiction review of The God Equation by Michio Kaku, The Quest for a Theory of Everything. And once again, I'm probably pronouncing that name wrong. But this book review is all about The God Equation, The Quest for a Theory of Everything. So of course, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, comment, and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Let's talk about The God Equation by Michio Kaku. So first, we kind of got to establish what is the God Equation. Well, in physics, there's this holy grail that has been searched for, well, since the beginning of physics, essentially, and that is a theory that ultimately describes the universe in one elegant, easy, simple way, something that explains how everything got here in the first place. And there is so much that we still do not know, and physics has evolved dramatically over the years and decades and the time since the days of Albert Einstein or even Sir Isaac Newton. So this is really a book about the history and the quest for that ultimate theory, as we go through the history and where it all started, from Newton to Einstein to modern day physicists such as Stephen Hawking and of course Michio Kaku. So essentially we have the four unifying forces of the universe, which seem to be very different from each other and unrelated, and yet somehow are fundamentally related in some fashion. So of course you got the strong and weak nuclear force, but you also have of course the force of gravity and electromagnetism. Gravity and electromagnetism we're all very familiar with. These are the forces that hold us to the earth. The force of gravity, electromagnetism, it's what allows you to watch this video over the internet and light up our houses and our cities, the energy that powers the universe and the world around us. And then the strong and weak nuclear forces, which hold the very nucleus of atomic, subatomic particles together, enabling them to not fly apart into the vast cosmos. So this is really a search for a theory that kind of explains everything and the struggles and the trials that physics have been faced with throughout its research for this. Now, generally speaking, I've not been a huge fan of Mr. Kaku's writing. I enjoy his works, it's not that I don't like him, but I find that generally speaking his writing hasn't been as captivating as other science writers such as Brian Greene. I haven't enjoyed his writing as much, and just for the style that it goes through it. So what I found with this book, however, is that it is probably the best Kaku book that I have ever read, and I thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish. Every aspect of it, whereas others, it's been very much short, brief explanations and move on to the next subject. This itself is a short book as well, but it definitely was much better written in my opinion and more captivating, kept my attention more effectively. It's kind of hard for me to describe honestly what I mean by all that and what it was that I didn't like about the other ones, just that the style was not the kind that really drew me in as effectively. But this one definitely worked better for the God Equation, searching for the fundamental theory of everything. Whether we ever achieve that theory, whether we ever find it, remains to be seen. One of the things that I enjoyed reading in this is the discovery of the reason why the sky is not bright as day all the time. In early physics, the thought was that there is an infinite universe with infinite stars, which proves infinite light. So if there's infinite light in an infinitely large universe, why is the sky dark at night? Shouldn't infinite light light up the whole sky? And I'll just read a brief part of where Kaku says this revelation came from as to why the night sky is actually dark, not bright light like the day sky. Now, that being said, I have not verified the authenticity of the claim made in this book, but it was really interesting what he attributes this revelation in physics to. It was actually by Edgar Allan Poe, according to Mr. Kaku. And I just want to read what he says, because I think regardless of the source and where it came from, whether or not it was Poe or not Poe, wherever it came from initially, the observation itself makes so much sense, and it was something that really changed physics as we know it. It says the final answer was actually given by Edgar Allan Poe in 1848. Being an amateur astronomer, he was fascinated by the paradox and said that the night sky is black because if we travel back in time far enough, we eventually encounter a cutoff. That is, the beginning to the universe. In other words, the night sky is black because the universe has a finite age. We do not receive light from infinite past, which would make the night sky white, because the universe never had an infinite past. This means that telescopes peering at the farthest stars will eventually reach the blackness of the Big Bang itself. So it is truly amazing that by pure thought, without doing any experiments whatsoever, one can conclude that the universe must have had a beginning. I thought that was a very interesting thought with respect to a solution to that. And I just thought that was so cool when you think about it. Infinite light with infinite stars in an infinitely large universe, but not a universe that has existed for an infinite amount of time. Thus, that infinite light simply hasn't had infinite time to get to us, resulting in a dark night sky, which I thought was just a really cool way to explain why we have a dark sky. And it's kind of funny when you think about it, is nobody really thinks, why is the sky dark? We just think of it like, well, duh, space is dark, that's why the sky is dark. But nobody really thinks in terms of, well, why is space dark? What makes it dark and why does that exist? So that was kind of an interesting aspect of this book, that it kind of gets into that ideology there and those questions which nobody really thinks about, honestly. So I thought that was a really cool thing. And it's one of the things that I really enjoyed about this book as far as the God equation goes. And it was a good read all around. It's probably the first 5-star read that I've read by Mr. Kaku. And, you know, I'll definitely see about picking up some other of his books, except while he's not my favorite science writer, he's definitely still a good writer. He has some good information in his books overall. And, you know, overall, I enjoy reading these types of physics books talking about the God equation, space, the final frontier, as they say in Star Trek, and the beginnings of the universe and the particles and physics. So it definitely gets into the quantum string theory as well as a possible solution to the question of what is the theory of everything. And one thing that was really enjoyable was learning how a lot of these scientific theories that have come out about the beginning of the universe and physics and everything about that, particularly string theory, were often written off as nonsense theories that make no sense and have nothing of value to contribute to science. And yet, this has been a theory that has been so successful in helping to predict particles and experiments with things like the Large Hadron Collider and the results from those experiments showing what these particles are and being able to find them. It's had a lot of success. So while, like most scientific theories, it's one of those things that is exceptionally difficult to prove fundamentally, but it is still something that has progressed science dramatically. Now, string theory, along with the larger M theory or membrane theory, are now posed, what scientists believe, may eventually lead us to a theory of everything. Who knows if that will actually be found in my lifetime? I certainly don't know. Who knows if it will, but it is something to look forward to, and this is an enjoyable read. If you want to know more about the quest for the theory of everything, I would certainly recommend this book. I did give it a 5 out of 5 stars on Goodreads because it is the first book by Kaku that I could say I hyper enjoyed, and I really did enjoy reading about this. So there's my thoughts on The God Equation, The Quest for a Theory of Everything by Michio Kaku. So thank you so much for watching. If you like these types of videos, I've got a whole nonfiction playlist which you could check out on the channel. I'll try to make sure that is linked in the cards. Thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments down below. Have you read any books like this? Do you enjoy nonfiction books? If so, what kind of nonfiction books? Let me know down below, and let me know your thoughts on the idea of a God equation, the ultimate theory of everything. And I look forward to hearing from you, or you could join me on my Discord. We could talk over there. Follow me on Bookstagram. That'll be linked below as well as my hardcover profile, so definitely check that out. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, until next time, keep on reading. Bye!